Hey YouTube, welcome back to New Rock City. I'm your host Stephen Moss,
Hi, I'm Lauren, your co-host.
and each week we bring you a brand new band, sit down with them, have a little chat, get to know them, and also play their music videos. This week we have a very special guest. We have Dustin from the band Two Eyes Open. So Dustin, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to finally be here.
Yeah, definitely, me too. I feel like most people that are gonna watch this show already know who you are. But just in case, I just wanted to start things off a little easy by having you introduce yourself and kind of tell us about how Two Eyes Open came to be.
Yeah, so I grew up in a really small college town, Boone, North Carolina, which features mostly like bluegrass and country. Um, and I wanted to start a band, and I don't know, like it just never quite worked out. Everybody wanted to play covers and stuff like that. And I don't know, I decided just a few years ago that I wasn't going to let anything else hold me back anymore. And so I started producing myself. And I found someone on Reddit, Adam, who's helped me with a lot of my songs, and started putting out these pop punk tunes. So I've been I've been writing for quite a few years, but didn't actually start like putting things out for real until this about a year ago. So
Gotcha.
Cool.
That actually is a really good segue because my second question I was going to say is I was going to touch on how you were writing music for a while before you put it out in the world. I wanted to know what was your epiphany moment where you just said, "Screw it, jump, let's do it." What was that moment
um,
for you?
yeah, there were two really inspirational artists for me that kind of I guess come out of left field considering the music that I make. But the first one was John Bellion. He does a lot of like pop and rap, and he wrote a chorus for an Eminem song that was like his first claim to fame. And I don't know, he has this song called Money Right, and he talks about how um, he wants to achieve his dreams, and he's telling the story about how he dropped out of college to pursue it, and it was just a very inspirational song for me. And I remember when I heard that song, I was maybe 20 or something like that, and then and he talks about being 23 when he finally accomplishes his dreams. And then on top of that, Billie Eilish was like a sensation right before the pandemic, and being so young, and like basically taking over the music world like that, it was just really, really inspirational to me. And I always had these excuses, I guess, that I would come up with in my mind for why I couldn't do something. And then those two in particular just really struck a chord with me one night, and I was like, no, I need to start doing this. And I don't know, the dominoes just started to fall as soon as I decided that, and everything started to fall into place literally within 2 or 3 weeks. I found my producer and stuff. So
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
So even before you had your lineup set, your song "Haunt" it reached the ears of the singer from Bowling for Soup, which I think is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Can you explain how that came about?
Yeah, so I have a friend who is like I guess he's a huge fan of my music too. Um, Ever since he heard Good Gone Away, he's just always been in contact with me, and he's actually the one that made the pop figure of me that I was showing off a lot around Christmas time last year. And
That thing is pretty cool. He he even had your wardrobe wet down.
yeah, yeah, he did straight from the music video too, the red tank top and everything. Um, yeah, he's friends with Jarrett, and he knows a lot of
Oh,
people
nice.
because he goes to like music conventions and like comic cons and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And so he's made connections that way. And he just DM'd him one night and asked him like, "Hey, um, what do you think of the song?" And Jarrett really liked it, and to kind of I guess show his support for him, he paid for a cameo so that Jarrett could, you know, film some sort of reaction, and it was worth his time, because he is a busy guy. But yeah, it blew me away. It was a welcome surprise for sure.
That's awesome.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Well, that's the first song I wanted to play for you guys. Bowling for Soup liked it, so I'm definitely gonna want to share it. Before I do, I wanted to show and tell everyone. Also, you can pick up your Haunt
Oh,
hoodie.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
Oh, I want one.
So here is Haunt by Two Eyes Open.
He said enough is enough, as if you ever even put up a fight. Throwing words, you're acting so tough, got blurry vision, so know why. You can do what you want, you can go your own way, you can sleep all you want, but just know you're without me, it's not right. It's not It's not You've gotten under my skin, asking me to beg and repent. You're part of no religion, is hiding those you love like they said. And I don't need saving now. I don't need saving now. I'm not your Lord Savior. You can do what you want. You can go your own way. You can sleep all you want, but just know you're without me. You can do what you want. You can go your own way. You can sleep all you want, but just know you're without me. It's not 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 right.
All right, and welcome back to the show, guys. After Haunt came out, you had mentioned to me on Facebook that your girlfriend wanted you to write happier sounding songs, and I told you that I respectfully disagreed. And it wasn't too long after that that you did a collaboration with a heavy metal band called Underking. So I just want to let you know I take full credit for that collaboration.
yeah. Yeah, that was all you. That was
That
all
was
you.
on me.
You're the puppet master.
So, but I thought that was pretty cool that you have that coming out. What can you tell your fans about that collaboration? And the song is called No Mercy. What can you say about that?
Yeah, no mercy. It's the album closer. You know, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but it's the album closer on his track or on his album, and it's like a 7 or 8 minute long song. It's really epic. There's this huge solo section, and a saxophone solo actually too. And he had been asking Maxwell, who's kind of like the guy behind Underking, he was asking people if they wanted to contribute vocals to a new song. So I hit him up, and then he was actually like already planning to ask me if I wanted to do the verse, so it worked out. Yeah, so it's kind of more in the vein of Haunt. Well, it's actually even heavier than that. So I'm doing full out screams. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I'm glad you took my advice. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Last week on the show, we had Brian Quirk, and you were in his video for Rosie, and we talked about that. About what was it like for his perspective. Now I want to know, what was that process like for you?
Yeah, so Brian, first off, he's a great guy. He's the one that introduced me to all of the Facebook groups and stuff, and is a big reason why I have any fans. Because if it wasn't for that, I legitimately would have probably missed out on so many opportunities and friendships and stuff this year. And he was working on all these songs, a bunch of acoustic stuff, and kind of similar to Underking, he was asking people if they wanted to be in his video. He wanted to shoot kind of a quarantine video where people were singing his lyrics and everything like that. And yeah, he just had me pick out a verse, and I think I picked one of like the key ones. Like I think I'm on the chorus or something like that, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I jumped on it. It was I love everything he does, and the stuff that he's coming out with soon is really, really cool too.
Continuing on your collaboration, you have done many with bands like No, This Is Patrick, recently with Passion Flower, and I might have missed some. But I wanted to know, when you collaborate with an artist, are you writing just for one part? Do they tell you what to sing, or what is that process like?
Yeah, so actually Lacuna with Passion Flower and Trent, I wrote the whole song, and I had a version that was just myself singing, but it felt like it was missing something. Um, I don't know, and there's that softer part before the first chorus that Trent sings on, and I couldn't quite nail it. Like I'm good at singing those like more aggressive things, but I couldn't quite get it, and I was like, man, I sound so terrible on this. And Trent actually messaged me in the middle of that recording, and was saying that he wanted to start recording again. He was getting like an itch for it, and it was just like a light bulb moment. And so I asked him if he could be on that part, and then he ends up being in the final chorus too.
Nice.
But yeah, and with in regards to Passion Flower, like I love Kyle's music and everything that he does. We're both huge Eternal Sunshine fans, and like I said, I felt like the song was good, but it was missing something, and I was so pleased when he came through with his verse.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you about that. I saw on your Reddit that the song is themed after the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which I think it's an awesome movie. Everybody can relate to it. We all have like relationships or memories we'd like to completely forget about. What about Eternal Sunshine struck a chord with you and prompted you to want to create that song?
Yeah, so I adore that movie. I've probably seen that movie more than any movie. Like it's one of those that I rewatch at least once or twice a year, and I always try to introduce it to people all the time. So I had gone through this relationship a few years ago, and it's something that I still reflect on every now and then. And I was thinking one day I was driving home from work, and that was when the chorus popped in my head. It's usually during really innocuous moments like that. And I remember as I was thinking about it, is like, I really wish I could just forget that whole thing, that whole relationship even happened, honestly. You learn things from relationships, but sometimes you just wish you could just let it go. And yeah, it made me think of that movie, because they're, they hopefully, that they end up together in the end. But the whole thing about that movie is they had so many problems in the beginning, and they were, incompatible. And luckily their love wins out. But I was thinking about that period when when they're listening to the old recordings that they took from Lacuna Inc. And it made me think about how much they were just bashing each other and stuff. And that's what to me, that's what that song is. Like the first verse and the chorus is all about like, oh, I don't need you anymore. Like this was a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. But then when you get to the second the second verse, I'm talking more about how much they miss each other as much as they don't like to admit.
Yeah. And would you, if given the chance, you ever erase a memory just like they did in the movie?
Um, that's such a tough question. And I think that's part of the reason why that movie is so compelling. I think in the end, I would decide not to because I would be so scared about the potential ramifications of that. Like, sure, I could get that memory out, but would that randomly delete some other memory from my childhood or something like that, totally unrelated? So I think all of our memories are what make us who we are, So ultimately, I would say no, but I definitely have moments where I'm like, yeah, I could totally do away with that.
I agree. I wouldn't erase anything. I think everything happens for a reason, and
Hmm.
it's a learning experience, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, since we were just talking about Lacuna Inc., you had something planned that I wasn't aware of, but you actually give me the first copy of the lyric video for Lacuna Inc.
Yep.
And I appreciate that. So what I want to do is play this right now. So this is the world premiere of the video lyric for Lacuna Inc.
She waits around for a moment, but the spotlight doesn't shine. She won't let it out. She'll keep this deep. She'll keep it buried like it belongs underground. And he knows what it feels like. Just one call away, and a text could say anything, but the memories, they're keeping him afraid. Simple economics, darling, you and all the time I'm stalling. I can't break free, you're not listening. You come to me with all your problems. No one was the one apparently always causing. I'm trying to grow, but you're not done with me. Where are you now? So I can pretend to leave. She said she'd moved on, got a single thing to do with him. But she still dreams of him while she's in the arms of other men. He says he's over it with a falseness of confidence. His life is grooving, but he can't seem to convince his head. He wants to forget. He cannot forget. He wants to forget. He cannot Simple economics, darling, you and all the time I'm stalling. I can't break free, you're not listening. You come to me with all your problems. No one was the one apparently always causing. I'm trying to grow, but you're not done with me. Where are you now? So I can pretend to leave. They want to forget. They cannot forget. They want to
So welcome back. If you like that, Passion Flower will actually be a guest on the show in April. So Kyle's music, if you liked him, check him out now, and then you can catch the interview in April. I wanted to play another song from you, an older one. That way people can kind of get a little mix of the new and the old and kind of see the diversity and range in your music. I wanted to play The Summer. Can you tell us about that song?
Yeah, I adore The Summer. That song, it's a song that's grown to mean a lot to me personally. Just as I've gotten older, I wrote that song in 2017 or 2018, over 2 separate periods. There was this 6-month period where I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with that song, and then I finally figured it out. But that song is about a particular summer before my dad passed away. And that was also a period of time where a lot of things in my life changed, just growing up quickly. It was around the time I started to graduate for college, and do some more adult things. So the summer, it's about the summer of 2013. So that was the last summer before my dad passed, and it's just about wanting to go back to those, how you have a longing to go back to those times when things were a lot simpler. So it's a super upbeat, like happy sounding song, but there's a lot of like darkness behind it at the same time. But it's bittersweet too, because that summer in particular, my best friend, we actually lived together for a little while, and that whole summer it was mostly just shenanigans and like being stupid kids. And so though it's got some darkness, there's a lot of happiness in that song too.
Gotcha. Well, I think it's a great song as well. So I'm going to go ahead and play it here. This is The Summer by Two Eyes Open.
It was way before the pressures of the real life. It was way back then we could learn just how to waste our time. It was way before my dad's moments were final, when you couldn't just wait for your only friend to arrive. It was way before she had slept all over my heart, way before my family had fallen apart. I'm grateful for where I am now, but I'd be lying if I said that I'm never gonna miss. I'd go back there if I had to, all for miles. Show me how to get to you. I love you and hate you for everything you do. The summer of 2013. Yesterday ate too much food. We didn't mind the fact we're sleeping in past noon. The summer of 2013. If you're stoned and I'm sober, what's wrong with me?
stick with just like do.
All right, and welcome back to the show. I wanted to spend a little time on this song because this is the one that kind of made me fall in love with your music. Good Gone Away. Now, one thing I thought was interesting between that and Haunt, because those were the first two songs that I heard from you. Good Gone Away was written over an extended period of time, and Haunt was written relatively short compared to that.
Yeah.
So for you, how do you determine when a song needs more time or when it's ready?
That's a really good question. It's really hard to determine that, and sometimes I'm like slamming my head against the concrete trying to figure out a song. And then sometimes it just writes itself really quickly. With Good Gone Away, I had written the first half in maybe like an hour. And I had gotten to the part like right before, I guess, the breakdown. There's the really, really soft part in the middle of the song. I'd gotten right up to that point, and I just had no idea where to go after that. And basically, yeah, there's a big story behind that song too. But when I actually ended up writing that song, it was, sorry, my dog is whining in the background.
Oh, good.
I don't know if you're picking up on that. So, she's very upset because I'm not paying attention to her. So, okay, I'm just going to let her come. It's okay. Okay. So, yeah, Good Gone Away. I had worked with this guy at a pizza restaurant, and he ended up getting sort of like a random infection or sickness, and he ended up passing away. And that night I just had like a lot of emotion. I mean, he had been sick, but it seemed like it was one of those things where it seemed like he was getting better, and then it flipped. And I just had a lot of emotion built up, and I just felt like yelling. And so that's where the whole, like, I felt like I needed to be alone part came out of that song, and I wrote it pretty much that night. And then the next day, that morning, I figured out the soft part. But yeah, there was a 8 or 9 month difference between the first time that I sat down to write that song and the last. So that song's got sort of a dual meaning for those reasons.
Gotcha. And the video itself for Good Gone Away, I thought was pretty cool because that was all DIY, which we've been talking about extensively on this show because of quarantine and everyone doing it themselves.
Yeah.
But that was shot on your iPhone and with some filters. What else can you tell us about that video? I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I had stayed up in Philly with my girlfriend for like a month, and on like whenever we were done with work, in our off time, we would shoot like a little bit each day. And I knew a rough concept. Like I knew that I wanted to be in the wilderness a lot and around like trees and greenery and stuff. And literally like right before we had decided to film, I had found this filter called Purple Valley, and it's an Instagram filter, and it changes anything green to like a purple hue. So we shot with that, and it was really an interesting undertaking because you only have so long that you can shoot when you're just shooting through Instagram. So we would have to shoot it, and you get like 30 seconds or a minute or whatever it is, and we would reshoot and reshoot and reshoot. And we didn't have a storyline at all. It like the song kind of ends up about me losing her and like trying to find her, but we sort of developed that over time. And yeah, then we made it in iMovie. I'm so sorry, my dog is like so rude right now.
No worries, man.
So we cut it in iMovie, and I did one last edit in like a VHS filter application. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was cool.
Very nice. Well, as of last night, I went and checked for you, and I have 46,484 songs on my computer.
Wow.
And Good Gone Away is my 37th most played song.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So,
that means a ton.
So yeah, I love the song, so I had to get it in here. So here's Good Gone Away.
I don't mind her.
All right, and welcome back to the show. Dustin, if you remember, one of our first conversations, you had sent me a private link to listen to Haunt, and I was talking to you about Good Gone Away, and you asked me my thoughts, and I ended up writing like a 10-page book report
Yeah, yeah,
just about Haunt and Good Gone Away.
yeah. A dissertation of sorts.
Yes. And in the email back, you had mentioned the way I obsess over music kind of reminds yourself, kind of reminded you of yourself,
Mhm.
or you know what I'm trying to say,
Mhm.
and about how back in the day you used to have a blog called the Artist Column.
Mhm.
So I wanted to know, before you started writing music, was being more on the journalist side more appealing, or did you always know that at one point you wanted to actually make music?
I knew I always wanted to make music. I kind of envisioned myself, like, again, this was during a period where I was making a lot of excuses for why I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And so I was honestly inspired. And like I said, about John Bellion earlier, that was the first piece I wrote, was about his new song that had just come out about a week prior. And I had developed this idea because I feel like so many music reviewers bash songs, and they're on such a tight deadline to try to get that review out as quickly as possible. So it's not necessarily a fault of their own, but because of that, they might miss some nuance in those songs. And so I thought a nice change of pace would be to only talk about songs that I enjoy, so everything is positive. So I started doing that, and I thought, like, maybe eventually this blog could develop into a YouTube channel, which could then I could do music with that, and kind of combine those two audiences. And I had this like crazy master plan, but it ended up being incredibly complicated. And as much as I liked doing it, when I did have that epiphany moment and I had taken a social media break for a few months, I realized, like, as much as I love this, like, I'm going to impact people a whole lot more if I just start writing my own stuff or putting my own music out there. So we had kind of a last hurrah with my blog, and I had sold like a few sweatshirts and like coffee mugs and stuff like that because I did have some people that routinely checked in, so I felt bad just shutting it down. But ultimately, like, it turned into this, so I owe a lot to that.
That's cool. I was looking over at some of the things Lauren wanted to bring out. One of the things she jotted down was about when you were writing Good Gone Away,
Mhm.
and the G string broke. Can you
Yeah.
can you tell about that?
Yeah, I had just I had left Virginia, which is where I lived from like 2016 to 2017. I moved back to North Carolina. Virginia just did not really work out for me. And so I was back at my parents' place for a little bit. And it was in between jobs too. So I had a lot of time to myself. My parents were out. So it was the first time that I got to like play my guitar. And again, for the last like few weeks. And I was really excited. This was around Christmas time. And yeah, as soon as I tuned it up, like literally just a few pegs, like the G string just snapped, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was really upset at the time, but then I was like, but I want to play, and I know they're going to be here soon, and I'm not going to have like that privacy. So I just tried to make the most of it. And then I was thinking about songs that I could play, since that G string is a pretty big component of like most guitar chords.
Oh, yeah,
And I was thinking about what I could play. And honestly, the way that Good Gone Away started in that opening chord was I was playing Shimmer by Fuel.
Yeah, I know that song.
Yeah, so that song, you actually mute the G string, so it works out, and it was just the first thing that popped in my head. And I was messing with it, and then I just moved the chord down one fret, and that's pretty much the first chord in Good Gone Away.
I wanted to ask you, now I live in New Jersey, but before I moved here, I lived in East Tennessee.
Mhm.
And I kind of feel that where you live has an influence on your music style. You are from Boone, North Carolina. What's the scene like there, and how do you think that influenced your music?
There's not really a scene. There, there is a sort of like garage rock, like indie. A lot of my friends were in like psychedelic bands, and then you've also got like a lot of bluegrass and folk and country and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. Like when I was growing up, Green Day was just sort of the gateway drug for me. They had just put out American Idiot, and that was like pretty much taking over the world. And it was like the one band that was sort of like my music that my mom could also like tolerate at the same time. So we would, I grew up around that, and then it was Green Day, and then I found Sum 41, and then that changed everything. And then my best friend introduced me to Linkin Park, and that changed everything too. So
Nice.
it honestly, there wasn't really a scene that I pulled from necessarily. And I'm also a pretty introverted person, so that's part of it. But I was a big like metalhead elitist like in high school and stuff, and then it gradually turned more into pop punk and stuff.
Gotcha.
So.
Now you had a pretty funny story about meeting Sum 41. Can you tell that?
Yeah, I'll try to condense it because it's a pretty lengthy story.
Okay.
But it's it was the first time that I had gone to see them. I was in college, and we went to see them in Charlotte, which is where I live now. But I had never really spent time in the city, so it's funny thinking about it now, but when I got there, it felt huge. And we had gotten there early because we wanted to explore the city. And there is a little diner that's like right outside the venue, or it's not very far away. And we were eating and just talking, doing our normal thing. And then I jumped out of I just like jumped up because I saw a bunch of the guys in the band coming like to the restaurant. I was freaking the fuck out. So I jumped up and like I think my knees like hit the table, and I like messed up our plates and everything. It was terrible. And I was like, look guys, look. And so it was the people that came in, it was Tom, and because Dave wasn't in the band at the time, it was Tom, Steve-O, and Colm. They had sat down, and my friends were like, you've got to go talk to them. Like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to be like that guy that's like bothering them right before they eat, before they go play a show. That's crazy. But they really pushed me to do it. And they were like, you're the only one wearing a Sum 41 t-shirt. Like, we all look like posers. So I walked over there, and I had my mom's old like digital camera at the time that is like a dinosaur now. And they actually agreed. There was a long pause when I asked. I was like, hey, I adore you guys, like you are my world, blah blah blah. And I was freaking, I don't even know what I said. And then I brought over my friends, and the one of the employees took our picture, or so we thought. She actually pressed the power button instead of the picture button, so it just turned off. So then we sit back down, and we're super excited, and they're asking me, pull up the photo, let's see what it looks like, blah blah blah. And so I pull it up, and it's blank. And they're like, dude, you've got to go back over there. And I was like, I like they just ordered their food. I can't be that guy. But they pushed me to do it again, and I was like, okay. And again, it was another like really long pause. And Steve-O was like, well, we should have done this anyway. And their photographer was with them, and he was like, let's just have him take the photo. Like, he knows how to, to do this. And he's like, it'll be even better this time. And so they were really, really good sports about it. It was really cool. And we finally got our photo, and we were just freaking out. So then we get into the venue pretty early after we explored the city for a little bit, and we were right up front. And there's YouTube videos that are still up where you can see me get pulled on. But they do this thing where I think during the Hell song, they ask anybody if they want to be on stage with Sum 41. And I had jumped onto the rafters and was like waving my arms, and Derek picked me. I was like the third guy to go up there, and I remember he hugged me, and I like never wanted to let go. And then the guys in the band that had seen us at the restaurant recognized they recognized me. And so it was a crazy night, because when I pointed out to Tom where my friends were, and after he did his solos, he would like throw pics to them.
Oh,
Um,
Wow.
and Colm, I was standing right next to Colm, and so he gave me one of his bass picks and stuff. It was a ridiculous night, and
that's cool.
that was definitely like a big like inspiration for me to do what I do, because I don't really think there's anything like, you hear stories all the time about finding out that your heroes are not as great as you thought, but when you actually meet them and they're amazing, like Sum 41 was, or like a Dave Grohl kind of type, like, yeah, I don't know. It was just insane.
That's
That's
awesome.
an awesome story. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Well, yours had a happier ending than mine. But hearing your story about the camera made me think of a time. One of the bands I have listened to the longest is a band out of Chicago called Local H,
Mhm.
and they're awesome grunge band. And I've been fans of them since the 90s. Well, they came to Jersey, and two cities in Jersey, so I went to both of them.
Mhm.
And I guess on the second day, Scott, this lead singer, recognized me, and I was up front, and I had my camera, and I was recording, and he reaches down, grabs my phone, starts going like this,
Oh
and
man.
then he walks over to the drummer and puts my phone in his face, and like he points it to the crowd, and like so I can get all this awesome footage of like the band's perspective and like all up in their face. And then he hands me my phone back, and I realize when he took my phone, his thumb hit the stop button.
Oh man.
So I
Oh
got
man.
so when you watch the video, you see like Scott, and then you see his hand go like this,
Yeah, so it looks like he was just like, get this out of my face.
and then the video cuts off, and I'm like, no, that's not what happened.
Oh man. That's brutal.
Yeah. So that's my meeting a famous person story.
Brutal.
But I only have a couple more questions for you, and I'll let you go. But I appreciate you coming on. The last thing I wanted to ask you is you said in a past interview, and I thought it was really cool. You said when you started Two Eyes Open, you made a promise to two groups of people. One was your fans, and one was a 10-year-old you. What do you think the 10-year-old you would say to yourself now?
I would hope that he would say I was pretty cool, or that I think I would be a little intimidated. Maybe the cool thing about making music, and I've kind of realized it's like, have you guys seen the movie Soul?
Nope.
It's like the new Disney movie, and it's sort of about finding your purpose, and it kind of questions like, what is your purpose and why do you do what you do? Why are you here? And that movie made me think about that a lot. And one thing, I'm not 100% sure, but one thing that I've kind of realized that Two Eyes Open has allowed me to do is I'm a really big fan of like, this is so weird and heady. It's kind of like pompous, but intertextuality, like when a lot of things from seemingly like disparate sources like come together. Like the Avengers, that's a really good example. You see Iron Man and you see the Hulk and you see Thor, and now they're all in a movie together, and it's freaking crazy because it's like, oh my god, but one thing that Two Eyes Open lets me do, at least for the time being, if there's always the risk that I might get sued, but with Haunt, like I had the artwork of that has Haunter, like the Pokemon, like in the summer you can see artwork, you can see Mario and Godzilla, which is like an inside joke between me and my best friend from that summer. Traffic Jam Girlfriend makes a reference to Malcolm in the Middle, and Eternal and Sunshine references with Lacuna. I love to like bring all of that stuff in, because to me that's really, really human. And I think my kid self would really appreciate that, because when I was a kid, I was just really like a nerdy, I'm still nerdy, but I was just very nerdy, and I played video games, and I wanted to be an artist. So like getting to do all these things with Two Eyes Open, whether it's like social media content or the album artwork ideas or merch or music or whatever. I'm sort of combining all of those little pieces of me that have kind of developed over the passing years. So I think that part of me would like freak out. Maybe not so much about the music when I was 10 years old, because I was I was pretty scared of like heavy stuff when I was really young. But seeing like the artwork and seeing like Mario on there and like recognizing that, I think my kid version would freak the hell out about that. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you had touched on Traffic Jam Girlfriend. So I'm going to play that for people. What was the inspiration for that?
Yeah, that song is so goofy. It I was in the middle of recording Haunt, and I couldn't get one of the guitar parts right. I kept messing up on it, and so I took a break and I went on Instagram, and Scene Dude had just posted this post showing a clip from that scene where he's saying like, okay, she's cute, she's smart, and she even lies to the cops. And it says like, and he wrote like, this sounds like a Neck Deep song or something like that. And so I got distracted and I was like, I'm going to take a break. Like I'm going to try to write this Neck Deep song basically. And I wrote the song in like no time. I mean, it's a very short song. So I wrote that like really quick and I was like, okay. And then I put that up and I went back to Haunt and I finished Haunt. But I ended up deciding like I wanted to put that out because it was so fun and it was so different. Like I felt like I was opening up a lot on interviews with like Good Gone Away and Haunt and all the darkness that comes with like all those songs and stuff. And I was like, I need to just, partially with my girlfriend's advice too. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to put out just like a happy, like silly song too.
Gotcha.
And yeah, 2020 was so dark. So I thought entering 2021 with like this sort of jokey, like not serious song would be a cool way to start it off.
Right on. All right, well, I'll let everyone hear it.
Okay, she's cute, she's smart, and she even lies to cops. I may be in over my head here.
Okay, she's cute, she's smart, and she even lies to the cops. I may be in over my head here. This won't last long, but I swear I'm not moving on. 'Cause maybe I'm just crazy, and I don't know where my head's been lately. But she's the only one I'd ever want in my life. My traffic jam girlfriend, caught in the traffic jam. Life is unfair.
All right, and the last part of the show, the very last thing I want to do is, so we talked about your promise that you made to yourself, or your 10-year-old self. The other promise you made was to your fans. So the last thing I like to do for everybody is just to say, what would you like to say to your fans?
Thank you, of course. That would be the first thing. I've growing up, I've been someone who's been very prone to doubt myself. I mean, I think everyone is, but one thing that all these people that have supported me, through their own volition or like made things for me or just reached out to me with a story. It's just insane, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And I hope to, as long as people are sticking through with I'm like tripping up all over my words thinking about this. As long as people are sticking with me on this journey, I hope that I hope they like what they see. I'm going to keep putting out more songs, and hopefully still impressing even years down the road. That's what I'm trying to do. Like the main thing is I just want to make a difference and impact people. So and they're what allows me to have any sort of reach at all. So I'm forever grateful for that.
Very cool.
I like
Well,
that.
you're definitely doing that. I just wanted to let everyone know you can check out Two Eyes Open on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, all of your major streamings. Thank you, Dustin, so much for being on the show. I really appreciated it.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you for
I was
having
looking forward to this one for a while because you were supposed to be my first guest.
me.
And
Yeah.
stuff happened, so I'm glad we finally got you on the show.
I'm-
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on here. Yeah, and I was looking forward to it forever too. But yeah, life got in the
happens.
way. But we're here. We're here now.
Yeah.
So
That's all that
So
matters.
for everyone at home, please like and subscribe. And next week we'll be back with another band. So thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you next week.